Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist and today doing an Elemental Hero Neos deck profile. So I'm really excited to do this one for you guys because this deck was actually suggested to me by one of my patrons, Zach. And this deck is an extremely nostalgic deck that can summon out all sorts of awesome Neos fusion monsters to help you go in for game. So without further ado, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can become part of Notification Squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards. Like getting your name description in a single video, getting assigned cards in the mail, and even getting your request a deck profile every single month to your Patreon. And definitely give Zach some love down in the comments down below for suggesting such an awesome deck. So let's get straight on into this one, guys. So first off, we're playing 2 copies of the original Elemental Hero Neos. This card is a key combo piece in the deck to help us summon out all of our awesome fusion monsters, plus this card is such a nostalgic boss monster. We then play 2 copies of Spirit of Neos. Spirit of Neos is definitely a 2 of in the build because this card, it helps us actually summon out the original Elemental Hero Neos, which is amazing. This card has the ability to when an opponent's monster declares an attack, you can special summon this card from your hand in defense position, and if you do, it cannot be destroyed by battle. And if this card is special summoned, you can add from your deck to your hand a polymerization or a spell or trap card that mentions an Elemental Hero monster's card name. Also, during your main phase, you can shuffle this card into the deck, and if you do, special summon an Elemental Hero normal monster from the deck, which is always going to be your copy of the original Elemental Hero Neos. We then play a single copy of Aquadolphin. Aquadolphin is really good as a 1-of in the build, and this card is an awesome effect, as you can actually once per turn discard a card, look at your opponent's hand, and choose a card from it, and if you control a monster with attack greater than or equal to the attack of the chosen monster, destroy the chosen card. And if you do, inflict 500 points of damage to your opponent. Otherwise, take 500 damage. This card is really good in the deck to basically just help you look at your opponent's hand and gain knowledge of what they have, so you can play around hand traps, but also deal with hand traps in their hand. We then play a single copy of Dark Panther. Dark Panther helps us go in for a lot of cool fusion plays, which is why I play this card as a 1-of in the build. We then play a single copy of Grand Mole. Grand Mole is also definitely a 1-of in the build, and this card is just so cool in the deck, as this card has the ability at the start of the damage step, if this card battles an opponent's monster, you can actually return both that opponent's monster and this card back to the hand, which is a great effect to be able to use with this card. But all 3 of your neo-spacian monsters are used for some really cool fusion plays, which is why I play them in the build. We then play a single copy of Elemental Hero Stratos. Stratos is definitely a 1-of in the build because we can easily summon this card out to our side of the field with a copy of A Hero Lives, but this card is really good in the deck because it helps us search out the exact hero we want directly from our deck to our hand when it's summoned to our side of the field. We then play a single copy of Shadow Mist. Shadow Mist is definitely a 1-of in the build as well, as this card is a great effect that if this card is sent to the graveyard, you can actually add a hero monster from your deck to your hand, except for the copy of this card, which is such a powerful effect to be able to use their copy of Shadow Mist, especially when you use this card with your copy of Engage Neo-Space. We then play a single copy of Liquid Soldier. Liquid Soldier is such a powerful card to be able to play in this deck because this card has a really cool ability. If this card is used as a fusion material for a hero monster and it's sent to the grave or banished, you can actually draw 2 cards and then discard a card, which is a really cool ability to basically just dig into the deck for the exact cards that we need. We then play a single copy of Blazeman. Blazeman is really cool as a 1-of in the deck because if this card is normally special summon, you can actually add a polymerization from your deck to your hand, which is a really cool ability to instantly grab our copy of polymerization so we can go in for our fusion plays. We then play 3 copies of Crosskeeper. Crosskeeper is really cool as a 3-of in the deck, and this card is such a powerful card because you actually send this card from your hand or field to the graveyard, and then special summon an Elemental Hero monster or a neo-spacian monster from your hand or graveyard, but negate its effect if it's summoned from the graveyard. And if you special summon an Elemental Hero fusion monster while this card's in the graveyard, you can actually banish this card and then draw 2 cards and then place a card from your hand on the bottom of the deck, which is such a powerful ability to help us dig into the deck for the exact cards that we need and also help us summon out our Elemental Hero monsters. This card is really good in the deck as a 3-of and absolutely an amazing card. We then play a single copy of Winged Kuriboh level 6. Winged Kuriboh level level 6 is amazing in this deck. This card not only counts as an elemental hero card, but also a favorite card as well, which is such a powerful effect to be able to use with a bunch of different cards in this build. And this card has the ability, it cannot be normal summoner set. It must be special summon from your hand or your graveyard by banishing an elemental hero fusion monster or a wing Karibo from your hand, face up from your field, or your graveyard, meaning it's super easy to summon out to your side of the field. This card also has a really cool effect that when an opponent's monster declares an attack, or your opponent activates a monster effect on the field, quick effect, you can tribute this card and destroy that one monster, and if you do, inflict damage to your opponent equal to its original attack points, doing a little bit of burn damage, but also popping a monster on the field, which is absolutely crazy. This card is a great disruption, and it's searchable in the deck, which is why I play one in this build. We can also play a single copy of Dark Armed Dragon. Yes, we did put one copy of Dark Armed in this deck to be able to summon out our copy of Armed Neos. But you can also summon this card out in this deck because we do play the copies of your Crosskeeper, Dark Panther, and Shadow Mist, plus a couple of dark monsters in the extract. So it's very easy to get exactly 3 dark monsters in the graveyard so we can actually summon out Dark Armed Dragon and start popping cards on the field. But this card is primarily used to summon out our copy of Armed Neos. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spell cards, guys, we're going to start with a single copy of Miracle Contact. Miracle Contact is definitely a one-of in the build to help us fusion summon the exact monster we want to, as this card has the ability to shuffle into the deck from your hand, field, and or graveyard the fusion materials mentioned on an elemental fusion monster that lists elemental neos as a fusion material. Then you special summon that fusion monster from your extract, ignoring its summoning conditions, which is a pretty cool effect to help us recover our resources, but also summon out an awesome fusion monster. We then play a single copy of Miracle Fusion. Miracle Fusion is really good in the deck and also searchable off copy of Sunrise, but this card is really good to help us summon out our elemental hero fusion monsters. We then play 2 copies of Polymerization. Polymerization is really good in the deck as a 2-0 because we have so many different ways to search out this card to help us go in for our fusion plays, but this card is such a nostalgic card and just so cool to play in this build. We then play a single copy of Rhoda. Rhoda is really good in the deck to search out the exact warrior we need directly from our deck to our hand. We then play 2 copies of Emergency Call. Emergency Call is definitely a 2-0 in the build to search out the exact elemental hero we need from our deck to our hand. We then play 2 copies of Ian Shuffle. Ian Shuffle is really cool as a 2-of in the deck as well, because this card lets us shuffle an elemental hero or a neo-spacian monster that you control into the deck, and if you do, special summon an elemental hero or a neo-spacian monster with a different name from your deck to your side of the field. You can also banish this card in the graveyard and then shuffle from your graveyard into the deck either one elemental hero monster and a neo-spacian monster or a copy of Neos to be able to draw a card, which is so cool about this card's effect. This card is definitely a 2-of in the deck to help you summon out the exact monster you need, but it's such a powerful card in this build. We then also play 2 copies of Instant Contact. Instant Contact is really cool in the deck as a 2-of to help you summon out the exact monster you need, as this card lets you pay 1,000 life points to be able to special summon a level 7 or lower elemental hero or neo-spacian monster from your extract, ignoring its summoning conditions, which is a really cool effect. And while Elemental Neos is neither on your field nor in your graveyard, the summon monster cannot attack and its effects are negated. Also return it back to the extract during the end phase, but this card is still really cool in the deck as a 2-of to help you get the exact monster you want on your side of the field. We then play 3 copies of Ian Engage Neospace. This card is one of the most powerful cards in the entire deck. This card lets us send a neo-spacian monster and an elemental hero monster, one from our hand and one from our deck, to the graveyard, which you usually want to send your copy of Shadow Mist off this card's effect to the graveyard because it's going to get you a search as well off this card's effect. But then it lets you special summon a neo-spacian monster or a level 5 or higher elemental hero monster from your deck. And if you do, add a Polymerization from your deck or your graveyard to your hand, and if you special summon an elemental Neos by this effect, it gains 1,000 attack. But you cannot special summon monsters from the extract except fusion monsters the turn you activate this card's effect, which is not that big of a deal because it's usually what we're summoning anyways. We then play 3 copies of Neo's Fusion. Neo's Fusion is really cool in the deck to help us summon out the exact Neo's Fusion monster we want directly from our deck by actually using fusion materials from our deck, which is absolutely crazy. This card lets us actually special summon a fusion monster from our X deck that lists exactly 2 monsters as material, including an elemental Neos, by sending those cards from our hand, deck, or field, ignoring its summoning conditions, and for the rest of the turn after this card resolves, you cannot special summon monsters, which is such a powerful ability. This card is such an amazing fusion spell, and so cool to help us summon out the exact fusion monster that we want. We then play 3 copies of A Hero Lives. A Hero Lives is really good as a 3 on the deck to help us summon out the exact E-Hero we want to our side of the field. So if you don't control a face-up monster, you can pay half your life points to special summon a level 4 lower element hero monster from our deck, which is usually going to be our copy of Stratos, so we can search out the exact card we need. We then play 3 copies of Droplet. Droplet is just really good to basically just turn your opponent's field off and also half the attack of your opponent's monsters, and it's really good in this build. We then play 3 copies of Super Polymerization. Super Poly is just a great board breaker in this build and such a powerful card in this deck. So that's it for the spell cards, guys. Let's get into the traps. So for the traps, we're just going to be playing 1, and that's going to be a single copy of Favorite Contact. Favorite Contact is really good to help us summon another copy of Shining Neos Wingman, as this card lets us actually special summon a fusion monster from our X deck that mentions a hero monster as material, ignoring its summoning conditions by placing the fusion materials mentioned on it on the bottom of the deck in any order from among cards in our hand, field, graveyard, and or banishment, which is such a powerful ability to again summon another copy of Shining Neos Wingman. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we're going to start with a single copy of Armed Neos, which is actually my favorite among all of the Neos fusion monsters outside of Shining Neos Wingman. This card is such a cool card to be able to play in the deck because it has the ability that just requires an elemental Neos plus an armed dragon monster. And it must be fusion summoned, and if this card is special summoned, you can actually choose a dragon monster in your graveyard and destroy all monsters that your opponent controls with equal or lower level than that monster. Also, when this card destroys a monster at battle, you can actually make this card gain the following effect: that during the main phase, quick effect, you can actually tribute this card to be able to special summon an elemental fusion monster from your X deck, ignoring its summoning condition, which is such a powerful effect to instantly summon out the exact card that you want off this card's effect. We then play a single copy of Cosmo Neos. Cosmo Neos is amazing in this build because this card basically skips your opponent's turn, and it's so easy to summon in this deck. This card is an amazing boss monster and so cool to be able to make to basically just skip your opponent's turn. We then play a single copy of Nebula Neos. Nebula Neos is amazing in this build and just such a cool boss monster to make, as this card actually requires a copy of Elemental Neos plus a copy of Grand Mole and Dark Panther to make this card, but it has the ability it must first be special summoned from your X deck by shuffling the above card you control into the deck. You do not use Polymerization to summon out this card, and if this card is special summoned from the X deck, you draw cards equal to the number of cards your opponent controls, then negate the effects of one face-up card on the field until the end of the turn. Also, once during the end phase, shuffle this card back in the X deck, and if you do, banish all cards on the field face down, which is such a powerful effect just to help you board wide the field and draw a bunch of cards off this card's effect. We then play a single copy of Aqua Neos. Aqua Neos is really good in the deck as a 1-up, as this card helps you just get rid of a card out of your opponent's hand. We then play a single copy of Dark Neos. Dark Neos is also really good in this build because this card kind of has a walking negate, which is really cool because it can actually negate a card on the field. Then play a single copy of Grand Neos. Grand Neos is amazing in this build as a 1-up because it actually bounces cards off the field. We then play a single copy of Brave Neos. Brave Neos is so easy to make in this deck and such a powerful card, as this card has a really cool ability that must be fusion summoned, and it gains 100 attack for each neo-spacian and hero monster in your graveyard, and when this card destroys an opponent's monster at battle, you actually get to add a spell or trap card from your deck to your hand that specifically lists the card Elemental Neos in its text, which is such a powerful effect. Then my single copy of Elemental Hero Flame Wingman Infernal Rage. Infernal Rage is really cool because this card can actually search out a favorite card when it's summoned to your side of the field, as it must be fusion summoned, and if this card is special summoned, you can add one card with favorite in its card name from your deck or graveyard to your hand, and also tribute this card and that was fusion summoned using a normal monster as a material, which it will with your copy of Neos. And then you get to special summon a level 7 or lower Elemental Hero monster from your deck or extract that cannot be normal summoned or set, ignoring its summoning conditions, which is an amazing effect to help us summon out cards like Sunriser to our side of the field. We'll make a single copy of Shining Neo Swingman. Shining Neo Swingman is such a powerful boss monster to make, as this card can pop multiple cards on the field and comes out absolutely massive because it gains 300 attack for each monster in your graveyard, and also it cannot be destroyed by card effects. And if it's special summoned, you can actually destroy cards your opponent controls up to the number of different attributes among the monsters on the field. And also, if this card destroys a monster at battle, inflict damage to your opponent equal to that monster's original attack, which is such a powerful effect. We then play a single copy of Wake Up Your Elemental Hero. This card just goes in for game, which is why I played this card as a 1-of in the build. We play a single copy of Sunrise. This card basically searches Miracle Fusion, which helps us step into our copy of Wake Up Our Elemental Hero, so we can OTK our opponent. We play a single copy of Absolute Zero. Absolute Zero is absolutely amazing, because this card has a really cool ability. If this card leaves the field, destroy all monsters that your opponent controls. We play a single copy of Garua and a single copy of Mud Dragon. Both these cards are super poly targets, and they're really good in this build to help you out your opponent's board. And then finally play a single copy of Extra Hero Infernal Devicer. Infernal Devicer is great because if this card is link summoned, you're going to reveal a hero fusion monster in your extract, and if you do, add up to 2 fusion materials listed on that card with different names from your deck to your hand. So you can basically reveal a copy of your Elemental Hero Nebula Neos, and then add your copy of Grand Mole and your copy of Dark Panther from your deck to your hand, or just add your copy of Neos plus any of the materials, which is really cool. But I love that about this card, that it basically just grabs you up to 2 of the fusion materials listed on that card with different names from your deck to your hand, which is such a powerful effect. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you enjoyed. This deck is so fun to be able to play. If you guys have never played a Neos deck before, you should definitely give this deck a try because it's such a powerful deck. It's so fun to be able to play, and it's just absolutely nostalgic because it plays one of the most iconic cards in the entire game, Elemental Hero Neos. So that's going to be this one, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can become part of the notification squad, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.